In every city, there are places long forgotten, buildings that rot in silence, streets that hold secrets under snow. But sometimes, just sometimes, those places come back to life, if only for one more night. Tonight's story isn't just about hunger. It's about what that hunger can lead you to, and what might be waiting on the other side of the counter. This is True Stories, real experiences, reimagined with chilling detail. And this one. This one starts with a free Whopper, and ends with something far more disturbing. I was 20, and just barely holding things together. It was the dead of winter, and I'd run out of money halfway through my welding certification course. Loans weren't an option. I'd seen too many people drowning in debt years after graduating. So I took anything I could get: yard work, junk hauling, patchy paint jobs, nothing that paid enough to matter. Then my cousin Max called, said he knew a guy who could get me on a crew in Coldridge, a half-forgotten industrial town upstate. They were gutting old buildings before the snow buried them for the season. I said yes, without thinking. Coldridge was bleak, the kind of place where every street feels like it's waiting to disappear. The job was simple: demolish what was left of a pharmacy, a shuttered law office, and a cluster of dead restaurants. I replaced some guy named Deeks who'd taken a bad fall from a second-story beam. Rumor was he'd gotten cocky, ignored the safety harness, broke more than a few bones. The foreman, Vince, didn't sugarcoat it. "Be smarter than the last guy," was all he said. My first shift? February 17th. The wind felt like it had teeth that morning. It cut straight through the insulated vest they gave me, like I was wrapped in paper. The sky sagged gray and low, like it might fall on us any minute. The crew didn't talk much, guys who'd seen too many winters and a few like me just passing through. We worked by floodlight until past 11. Dust, grit, busted tiles. My arms ached and my lungs felt like ashtrays. By the end of the shift, I was half frozen and hollowed out with hunger. Most of the crew vanished fast, carpooling or ducking into corner bars. I didn't know anyone yet. I pulled my scarf tighter and looked around. That's when I spotted it: a Burger King. It stood like a relic across the street, its old red signage flickering faintly between a bricked-up salon and what used to be a pawn shop. The "open" sign in the window glowed dull red. I didn't think, just crossed the road and pushed through the door. The place was weirdly quiet. No music, no overhead lights, just the amber heat lamps buzzing over the counter. The air was thick with the scent of fryer oil, but something else lingered beneath it, something sour and metallic, like pennies soaked in old dishwater. A lone worker stood behind the register. Skinny guy, no older than me. His name tag read Miles, the ink half faded. His face was pale, eyes lifeless like he hadn't slept in a week. "You open?" I asked. He nodded stiffly. "Grill's hot. Fryer's work. What do you want?" His voice was flat, too flat. I ordered a Whopper meal, no pickles, large Coke. He didn't punch anything into the register, just blinked slowly and said, "It's on the house. System's down." I should have questioned it, but hunger overrides reason. I mumbled thanks and stepped aside. Miles disappeared into the kitchen. I heard the fryer hiss, then something else. A voice, not his, low, guttural, like someone whispering through a vent. I leaned slightly, trying to glimpse the back. I caught a flash of movement, something tall, hunched. The arm that passed Miles a grease-stained bag wasn't right, too long. Pale, fingers like twisted branches. Miles reappeared without a word, handed me the bag and the drink, then turned and walked away. I sat at the booth closest to the window. The table was sticky with grime. I wiped it down with napkins and dove in. The food was perfect, unnaturally perfect. Fries crisp, burger juicy like it had come off a fresh grill. I devoured it in silence, too tired to care how strange it all felt. I tossed the trash and looked back. Miles was gone. Outside, the snow had thickened into a white wall. I could barely see the building we'd been working on. I trudged to the bus stop and waited alongside a few strangers. A nurse, a kid in a puffy coat, an old man in headphones. They all kept stealing glances at me, quick, uneasy looks like I'd walked into the wrong room at a funeral. The bus came. I took a seat near the back. Even the driver kept glancing at me through the mirror. I figured I stank. 14 hours of work and cheap insulation will do that. When I got home and peeled off my coat, I noticed the stains. Red soaked through my white undershirt. Ketchup, I assumed, but it didn't smell like ketchup. In the bathroom, the mirror told a different story. Blood, smearing my lips, dried across my chin like a grim smile, but there was no pain, no busted lip, no cut, nothing. I brushed, scrubbed, tried to make it go away. Maybe I'd bitten my tongue. Maybe the ketchup was just heavy, but something about it sat wrong. The next morning, I walked by that Burger King again. Only this time, it was gone. Boarded, faded signage, the parking lot untouched by snowplows, like nothing had moved there in years, yellow caution tape strung loosely between rusted poles. It looked like no one had stepped inside for a decade. Back on site, I couldn't stop staring at it during break. One of the guys, Eli, caught me. "You eyeing that haunted burger joint," he said. "I was there last night," I muttered. "Ate there." He stopped, frowning. "You sure?" "Yeah. Why?" He shook his head slowly. "That place has been shut since the incident. Health shut it down. They found pieces in the grease traps, not beef." I thought he was messing with me. But he didn't laugh. A week later, we started demo on the old Burger King. It didn't match my memory at all. Dust coated everything. Fryers rusted solid, mold on the walls, a stench that clung to your clothes like rotten copper and wet fur. The kitchen was gutted, but in the freezer room, we found things. Not patties, not supplies. No one filed a report. Hazmat came in. We were told to keep our mouths shut. But I still remember that hand, those fingers, and Miles's eyes, blank as a dead screen. Last week, someone called me, said they worked for a private contractor that investigates abnormal site activity. They knew about Coldridge, knew about what I'd seen, said they needed my experience. I didn't answer. But now I wonder how many other ghost-lit diners are still out there, places where the fryers hum after closing time, serving more than just burgers to the lost, the lonely, and the too hungry to care minds. Moral of the story. Sometimes the hungers we ignore feed something else. Be careful what you accept for free, especially when the doors should have stayed closed.